We're going to start this afternoon with just a couple of initial thoughts from Kent and then initial thoughts from Bobby. And then we're just going to open it up with the student athletes returning back to campus. It's a good time to connect with the media. So thanks all for joining us. And with that, we'll kick it over.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody. Appreciate you taking the time to be with us today, and we can answer some questions. Felt like this was just a good time to, excuse me, get back together and answer questions that you might have. I think first, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't comment a little bit on our society and what's going on right now. I think this has been a good exercise in reminding me as a leader of an athletic department that I need to spend a lot of time listening, and I need to educate myself on issues revolving around racism and how we treat each other, our Black community. We know that we're as diverse of a department as any there is on this campus, and that's what makes us strong. And I look forward to in the future using this as an opportunity to have some great discussions with our student athletes, with our coaches, and understanding more. I've often felt that we don't have to be the same to be united, and it's our diversity that makes us strong. I've also feel strongly that what we do now in 6 months from now, a year from now, 3 years from now, right now it's easy to be just caught up in the fervor of it all. But really the difference is made when we put those into action, and then when the fervor has died a bit, are we just as committed? And I want to make sure that we are just as committed to things involving racism and how we treat each other. I want to make sure I'm clear on that. And you can't unsee that video of what happened to George Floyd. It is it was a difficult thing to watch, and I've certainly taken this opportunity as a father to have these conversations with my children and how we treat each other and how we respect each other. And so I felt like if there's other questions you want to ask about that, but I felt like it was important to just say that on the front end. So that's really all I've got, and then we'll open it up for questions after Coach Hauk says what he'd like to say.
You know, I'm glad our guys are back. Our number one priority since the beginning of the coronavirus stuff has been the well-being and health of our players, as well as the student athletes, as our families, our community. So it's possible to shut down good guys from a standpoint, but it's detrimental to their mental health. So I think it's really good that they're back.
Is Bobby kind of freezing up for you folks too, or was that just okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're kind of freezing up a little bit.
Okay, you want me to get my IT guy tapes on it, or? Is it working now?
Yeah, just while you were talking there, it froze just a little bit, and I'm sure our print media can figure out kind of what you're saying, but maybe for those who need the video part of it, it might not work real well. But anyway, if it gets to be an issue, we can stop and connect you in a different way. So you all let us know if it's an issue. All right.
Okay.
All right, Eric, how do we want to handle this from a question standpoint?
Feel free to raise your hands. I've got the participant list up on my phone here, and we'll get to you right away.
Go ahead, Sean. Why don't you go first?
Coach, what are some of the conversations like you and the staff are having with a lot of your guys during this time of with everything that's going on in the country right now?
Say it again, Sean.
Are you guys having some like conversations like with you and and some of the the assistant coaches with a lot of the guys as far as just like what is going on right now as a country, and like just getting the pulse of the team and how everybody's feeling, things like that.
Yeah, sure. We discuss every day. We don't have a lot of access to our players right now, so we do talk. Our position coaches talk with their guys numerous times a week, and we have staff meetings every day, and we discuss a lot of things.
Jack, I think you got your hand up. Go ahead, Jack. Got to unmute yourself there.
John did ask about it, but I do have another follow-up to that. Obviously on, I believe it was last Tuesday when everyone was posting on social media, not only were African-American people on the team obviously posting that, but their white teammates obviously following in support. Is there anything you saw, with your teammates connecting like that made you feel good or proud to be the head coach of the Montana Grizzlies, and how they responded to that? Or did you notice the response to that from your team?
I don't do social media, so I didn't see anything. Can you hear it?
Guys, it sounds like Coach Houck's internet's cutting out on him, so I'm going to plug him into an Ethernet line here real quick. So if anybody's got a question for Kent, fire away.
Yeah, Kent, this is Peter Christian calling. Let me just find a place where I'm not feeding back myself here. Referencing your letter from yesterday, would it be possible for you to just kind of take us through some of the steps that you and the administration are working toward in your conversations with the health department to, when the time comes in the fall, to actually have football at Washington Grizzly Stadium, what those steps might be?
Yeah, so the letter yesterday, I just felt like we needed to get some communication out. It changes so dramatically and it changes so quickly, but I think it was important for us to let folks know that we're planning to play football in the fall, and we have to plan in that fashion. If not, we're gonna get caught when all of a sudden it's time to play football. And so really what we've done is we're part of a much larger campus group, and we rely on that campus group to stay in touch with the county health department. We know we're in phase 2 right now. And so what our plan is to develop a plan and then go back to the county health officials, engage that at the state level. Really, we've got to be in concert with Montana State as well, so that we make sure that we're doing things similarly. Really what I tried to break down is we're going to look at things in sections. So certainly you've got pregame and tailgating, that and how we get fans by foot and by mass transit and by parking and by cars here onto campus, how we manage that. Then then the entrance into the stadium, we know that anytime we can keep groups together, that's going to make things much better, much way to contain things. And then the game environment itself, while the game is going from kick to the end, and how that looks, access to restrooms, access to concessions, those are all things we're considering. And then the mingling of sections and how people stay together, how we create traffic flows around the stadium, and all those that go into just when we're doing the game days, access into the suites, what we do in the press box. I would imagine that all of you need to get prepared to wear masks, and how that will work inside of that contained area there. Then the exit out and how we get folks out. I would imagine that the gathering on the football field after the game will not be happening. That's just a guess in my mind, but I'm imagining that will not be happening. And so the idea is to keep groups together as much as possible, clean as we can. And then ultimately it's the decision of those fans whether or not they want to attend. We'll lay out what our mitigation plans are. And then I think there's going to have to be some decision making on their part as to, do I feel comfortable coming to a game and being a part of this? So that's really where we're at, Peter. But all those still need to be communicated back and in concert with our reopening of the campus this fall.
What about the players? Obviously, there are going to be 22 individuals on the field playing football. Lots of contact there. So I'm sure the NCAA has given you some guidance and you have communicated with them as to the safety of all the players.
Yeah, and we're going to have to incorporate some testing. We're going to have to incorporate monitoring of their symptoms. We certainly have faced outbreaks of other viral diseases among teams because they travel together, they're close together. The flu can go pretty quickly through a football team. The flu can go very quickly through a soccer team. And so making sure that we're testing and we're protecting. The other thing we've got to take into consideration too are teams that are coming in from other places in California or Oregon, or we've got a team coming from Kentucky, Washington, Utah, and how they travel in and what they bring as well. So those are all part of that, part of a plan, and making sure that we keep people as healthy as possible and make sure that we're focused on those things that are really, really the most important.
Thank you.
I don't see any hands up right now.
John's hands up.
Jack, yeah, maybe we just need to do it without the virtual there, Eric, because you can just see hands up. I don't know if everyone knows the Zoom protocols that we have. When you get so used to Zoom meetings, you recognize you can put your hand up virtually. So,
John.
Eric, I'll let you run point on that.
Sean, go ahead.
Kent, where are you at with as far as talking to some of the other schools like Cal Poly coming and where things kind of stand schedule wise and how confident you are with being able to play everyone that's on the schedule based on different state regulations?
Well, I've reached out to all three athletic directors from our non-conference schedule, and they've all confirmed that their plans are to come. There are plans to be here and play the games as scheduled. In our Big Sky Conference, we meet twice a week as athletic directors. I'm on the football committee that meets weekly. We have those discussions. Right now, we have to plan that they're coming to play. And there's really no other way to go about doing it than to make a call on June 8th or whatever day we were at, June 9th, sorry, on a game for September 26th is just kind of a futile attempt to try and it's not going to do any good. And so we're planning that Cal Poly will be here as we move closer, and as some of those things change, there might need to be some fluidity to that schedule. But we're planning. We have 2 California schools coming here, and we're planning that we'll have Cal Poly here on September 26th, and that we'll have Sacramento State here on whatever date that is. But those are the discussions we're having at the conference level. But I really don't know any other way. We really don't know any other way to plan for this other than to say we're going with what we've got right now as our schedule.
Did you see me? Okay, sorry. Yeah, it took a few minutes to let us in the meeting, so I apologize if I'm being redundant or if you already said this, Kent. But I'm wondering about season ticket holders, and I've heard that. Did you already cover that? Okay, so I've heard that there have been some plans or talks in the works about limited capacity, and I'm wondering if you can elaborate on that, on where season ticket holders stand and what their options are going to be, because I know that that deadline was extended to July 1st, I believe.
Yeah, so we have not had any conversations on exact capacity limits. I know there are a number out there that are floating around that different schools are doing. Some are planning full capacity. Right now, we're planning to have full capacity. Now, that's again on June 9th. So what we communicated to our season ticket holders is if we come to a limited capacity situation because our plan is just not going to work with the people shoulder to shoulder, then our first priority will be getting students and our season ticket holders in. So there could be a situation where we do not sell a single game ticket. So if we have 15,000 season ticket holders, or I'm just using that number, and we have 1,500 students that want to be there, and we're feeling comfortable about 17,000 in the stadium, then those are the 2 groups we'll take care of first. But we haven't really come at this looking at it as a capacity issue right now. It's more, we're going to start with the largest capacity, build a plan that could work for 25,000 people in there, 15,000 people in there, 5,000 people in there. The sweet spot we'd really like to get at to manage all of our season ticket holders and manage our our students, and that kind of demand would be about 18 to 19,000. That would be a really good spot for us. But we have not set a capacity like, hey, we're shooting for 50%. I think those will come as we start to develop more substance to our plan.
And to follow up on that, if season ticket holders are feeling a little leery about the season and maybe aren't comfortable going, is there a way for them to just put this year kind of on deferral and keep their seats? Or is that an option? Do they have similar options like that?
They do. Yep. So if we've given the option that if season ticket holders do not want to renew because of their concerns with COVID-19 this year, we will not take their season tickets away. They'll have first right for those in 2021. Once we have mitigation plans, if there's folks that have renewed, because we really want people to renew for obvious reasons, but we want to get a count, we want to understand. So those people who renew and then come September, they feel, hey, I'm just not really comfortable with this right now. We'll do the same thing of giving the option of refunding, donating, or pushing that payment on to 2021. But we want to be as flexible as we can with our season ticket holders. And so that's the option moving forward. But what we ask of our season ticket holders is to, first of all, renew so we know where you're at. And if you really are not renewing because of COVID-19 reasons, let us know so that we can then plan appropriately. If you're really giving up your season tickets and it's not COVID-19 related, you've just moved to another place or whatever the case may be, we want to know that so we can start that planning for who potentially would want to buy those tickets.
Do you know what percentage you're at right now on how many have said?
I don't know the exact percentages. I really don't. We had that communication yesterday was really what we were trying to get people as we moved to that July 3rd deadline. But we've had a good return on our season tickets. And so we know as we move closer to that deadline that number is going to increase.
Peter Christian has his hand up.
I don't know how well they can hear you, Eric, but so Peter, do you want to ask your question? And then I know Frank's had his hand up. Jack's got his hand up. I don't know who PC phone is.
That's me.
Oh, Peter Christian. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Hey, personal computer.
One last question, and I'll stop asking questions. How vital is the success of the Grizzly football program to the overall sports package at the University of Montana? I know it's the foundation, the building block. If things go well with football, it tends to go well with the rest of the sports. So how important is it to get this right?
Well, I've got our football coach on the call, so I'm not going to tell him that he's unimportant, right? Because he'll just click off and leave the meeting. But look, it's no secret. It's no secret. Coach Hauk knows this. Everyone, I think, knows this. We rely on football ticket revenue more than any of our conference or national peers. Just the fact of the matter. And we rely on football ticket revenue more than some of our Mountain West Conference colleagues as well. And so there's no doubt that we need to do this, and we need to get our football ticket revenue. It drives what we do here on our campus and in our department. However, we don't want to do that in a reckless way. We've started cost reductions. We've started to forecast what things would look like if we had a 1 year where we needed to have some help from outside sources and potentially how we'd manage that revenue loss. But no, I can't shy away and say that we don't play football. It's no big deal. We want to play football because we want to play football. We want to play volleyball. We want to play soccer. We want to run cross country because that's what we do in athletics. We compete and we have student athletes succeed. But certainly competing and having robust, full stadiums is important for us financially as well. I can't shy away from that.
Frank, you had your hand up.
Yeah. So Ken, you guys set up all those logistics of returning the football players to the Champion Center, and I guess a weekend now. How would you evaluate how the return of those players has gone so far?
And that was for me, Frank. Did you?
Yes.
Did you? Okay. So far, so good. I can tell you, it's great to see student athletes. Oh my goodness, boy! I'll tell you what. I'll never take for granted that interaction with student athletes and how valuable that is to why we are in. Why we're in this business. But so far, it's gone very well. Our strength and conditioning staff and our trainers have worked hard. It's been an education process, no doubt, for everybody involved. Getting your temperature checked, keeping your mask on, disinfecting, staying apart. I think it's a matter of being diligent in what we're doing. But so far, it's gone well. We have a good group in, and now we need to start that process of reintroducing some other sports in. We've got other student athletes that really are anxious to get back and going. Soccer and volleyball and basketball will start to come back onto campus in the beginning of July. But so far, it's gone really well. But we know that we're going to have a positive test. It's inevitable. And then how we manage that, how we isolate, how we contact trace, how we treat that is going to be the next test for us. There's no doubt. Just like anywhere else in society.
So you guys haven't had anyone test positive so far yet?
We have not. No, not yet. So, but I'm not naive to think that that's not gonna happen.
And for Bobby, along those same lines, how would you assess the state the players came back in, and what do you think of what the team's been able to accomplish so far being back in the Champion Center?
Well, it's truly a family. So when we were without being around each other for 2 months, it was fun getting them back. And we love our guys. They love us and each other. And it was great to have everybody here. And it is great to have everybody here. In terms of the physical conditioning, that's a broad spectrum. Some of them had some of them had access to work out, some of them didn't. So some of them are very deconditioned and they've deteriorated physically. So I think from a mental health standpoint, it was imperative to get them back. And I've seen a lot of growth in terms of, just that the happiness factor and the being in a good place mentally for our players since they've been back.
Hey,
Mauricio,
Eric, I
looks
see.
like you have your hand up again.
Eric, did you see you've got a remaining meeting time on here? Says there's only 9.5 minutes left. So I don't know if we're going to have to extend or what's going to happen there.
Well, we'll use that time. That's the university's account, so we shouldn't have a problem. But I did see a next question, Ryan Tutel and Maritza. We'll start with Maritza.
Okay, sorry, I just want to go over some more kind of logistics with games, and if you've covered it, I apologize. Just wondering about tailgates, if you've considered reducing the length of halftime to limit congregating at tailgates, and also wondering about the TV contract this year. If you have thought about expanding it so more local affiliates can carry the game, if people can't don't have the option, or even some pay-per-view options per game, just to expand access.
Yeah, so we have not talked about shortening half times. We have talked through what the right mix is of public and private tailgates and whether or not those will even happen. There's a chance that those may not happen. Those might be things that are said we can't do that. TV contracts are a little more difficult just because the bulk of our games, the rights are held by the Big Sky Conference, but we have had discussions about TV. I have spoken very openly and honestly that if we have limited fans in the stadium, I would like to shift to some kind of a pay-per-view model. I think that's a way that we can recoup some of our costs, but that's going to take a lot of rewinding of TV contracts that are held by the Big Sky Conference, which are then sold to Root Sports and to others. So those conversations are ongoing.
Ryan Tutel, you're up.
Okay, yeah, and I also, like Maritza, kind of joined this in progress, so I apologize if this was covered before I was able to get in. But Coach, this question is for you. Have you had an opportunity yet to address what's gone on over the last couple of weeks in the country nationwide, with the protests and so forth with your team? And at the point that you are able to get everybody back together, do you have a plan where guys who maybe have been affected by some of this stuff directly will have an opportunity to dialogue, to address, to have conversations in the context of the team?
Yeah, I mean, our guys interact with each other every day, as well as us to a degree. But, our responsibility is first and foremost to the young men on our team. And one of our jobs is to prepare them for the challenges they're going to meet now and throughout their lives. And then we want to help, we want to educate them and help them to be positive leaders and role models for their generation. So that's our emphasis.
And then for Kent, a quick question. I know that you said you're preparing, hoping, expecting to be able to have a full boat in Washington Grizzly. You also said there is a chance that there won't be single game tickets sold. Would you say that there's a very unlikely, a 50-50, or a very likely chance that there won't be single season tickets sold this year?
Oh, Ryan, I don't know about that. I don't know if I'm going to go on the record quite likely or unlikely.
I know. I really put your feet to the fire here.
No, it's a fair question, but honestly, on June 9th, I can't tell you. We're preparing, like I mentioned, for a full stadium, and I think it's easier to dial that back then, knowing that season ticket holders will be taken care of first, and then if we can't have a crowd that's larger than that, then we won't sell we won't sell single game tickets. So, honestly, at this point right now, I can't give you a definitive likely or unlikely. We've got a plan that it's likely because it's going to be easier to reduce that number than to suddenly try and ramp that number back up.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Jack Ginsburg, question for you.
Ken, this is for you. As you see, you said it's inevitable to think that there might not be a positive case on the football team or, other program like that. When you see Arkansas State, Alabama, and Auburn today, have you been able to, is there a chance that you can contact them and talk to them about, it seems pretty straight up what the protocol would be after that, but is there any talk with the NCAA or Big Sky commissioners on how to handle it once you see a positive case, essentially?
No, I mean, I don't think I've seen a time in college athletics where there's been more cross sharing of information because every one of us are plowing for a brand new field. We've never done this before. So there is a lot of cross sharing. There's no doubt about it. So sharing and talking about those things, absolutely. The NCAA and the Big Sky Conference have really left it up to the individual institutions, which is probably the best approach because each county is different. Each state is different. We're in a very different state than Arkansas. We're in a very different state than California and how we manage things. But I think the protocol is pretty straightforward on what we'll do just because of CDC guidelines and county health guidelines were to be isolate, contact trace, and that type of thing. So there's really been no mandatory directives when it comes from the NCAA or the Big Sky. We're really, I think, developing those as we go as well.
And then I had another question. Just obviously, ticket sales are huge. Individual ticket sales are massive. I believe it was something 5 to 6 million, maybe, when I talked to Ryan. Is it feasible, or is there a certain level of fans you need to accomplish to play a season? Could you essentially play without fans, or would there need to be some sort of money stream coming in for it to be worth it to play the season?
Yeah, we want to play. I mean, let's just put it that way. Now, playing without fans, it doesn't take a really brilliant business person to recognize if you play without fans, you've got all the expenses with no revenue or very little revenue. Now, if you can pivot to a full pay-per-view, that's a little different story. But like I mentioned before, I think for us, a real sweet spot is to get to 18,000 just because that helps us accommodate season ticket holders and not having to displace them. And then who gets in, who doesn't get in, students, those type of things. That's the number that's a good number from just a logistics standpoint that we're shooting for. But we want to play. We want to play in front of as many fans as we possibly can, but we want to do it in a responsible way and make sure we're not just doing it at all costs.
We'll go with one more. I think we're running out of time here. Jordan Hansen, question from you.
Sorry, I had to unmute there for a second. This question more deals with your experience and longevity as a college administrator, but I don't know if you've seen what's been happening at the University of Iowa, but they're having a massive racial reckoning right now with a variety of former football players and other players in other sports alleging racism in the strength and conditioning program and football program. Is this something that you've been paying attention to? And do you see painful conversations like this happening in other places across the country? And feel free to answer that how you will.
You bet. No, I think that we have to have painful conversations, folks. We just have to have them. And we have to be able to talk candidly and openly and honestly. And yes, I track on those. Yes, I watch those and I see those things. And again, kind of what I said at the outset, I think the real important thing is going to be, what are we doing now in 6 months? What are we doing in a year? What are we doing in 3 years? When the fervor has settled a little bit, we need to be just as diligent, right? We're all really diligent on January 1st with our New Year's goals, right? But are we just as diligent in February? Are we just as diligent in June? That's where we've got to be diligent, is we've got to continue to do that. I've got to understand and got to and learn and make sure that I am facilitating those conversations. But we have outstanding head coaches. I mean, just outstanding head coaches that are engaged and are concerned. And I believe we're a model for how we can come together. I believe that so strongly. Sports is not perfect. I get that, but sports offers such a great glimpse into this team and this unity. Like I said, we don't have to be the same to be one. We don't have to be the same to be together. And I think that's modeled so well in athletics. But no, Jordan, you're right. Those of us in leadership positions have got to make sure that we listen and we do our best to understand, and we do what we can to unite.
Thank you.